All right. Welcome, everybody, to our first LinkedIn Live. SueMentors is bringing you Rawan Taha. So those of you who know me as Sue Griffey also know me probably as SueMentors. I work with a global mentoring practice at all levels of professionals in transition. And we are catching up on LinkedIn Live. Today, I'm excited that we're able to present Rawan Taha. She's a welcome everybody to our first LinkedIn Live. SueMentors is bringing you and Rawan is a book author, but she is also a global development professional and has over 11,000 LinkedIn connections because of the value she's provided all along. And now in this book, yes, I have my very own copy. Whoops. All right. So, Rawan, why don't you just briefly introduce yourself and then we can go ahead and get everybody's questions, talk about some of the key content in the book. Those of you who have questions and comments already, go ahead and put them in. And a reminder to me and to you, Rawan, and to our audience using LinkedIn comments, there's a 30-second lag, which I forgot about. Also, let us know if you're watching live or if you're catching the replay. We love having people sign up. I know some friends of mine on the West Coast of the US signed up. Maybe they're not watching so early in the morning, but they'll catch the replay. So lots of ways for you to comment and get questions answered today. Rawan, welcome to the first SueMentors Live.
Hi, Sue, and thank you so much for hosting me and for having me today. It's a pleasure being here and it's a pleasure connecting with everyone. I've been on LinkedIn for years and it's the first time for me to go live. So it's quite an experience to have people hear my voice for the first time and to be able to answer everybody's questions also live. I'm excited to be talking about my book, No More Job Secrets. As you know, it's been in the making for a long, long time. And it's been inspired, of course, by my large youth global audience that I've built over the years through sharing tips and advice on LinkedIn, and also through having gone through two periods of unemployment myself and two periods of international employment. So if you're watching this, this is a sign that really, if I can make it, you can too. There's absolutely nothing special out of the box about me. It's just a ton of persistence and hard work. So if you're watching this, this is your sign. Um, I would love for you to just start typing in the chat, where are you from? And perhaps just type if you're employed, unemployed, and what you would like to know today. If you have any questions, this is your time to ask. So please feel free to put your questions in the chat and I'll try to take as many as I can. You can ask your questions in English and Arabic or in French, but be gentle on the French.
Oh, look, we've got Mustafa watching live from Bristol. Thank you, Mustafa, for joining us and commenting. Now we know people can see us on LinkedIn.
All right, so I'll get started, Sue.
Sure.
All right, so I'll get started with a few slides and then we'll leave the bulk of the presentation time for Q&A. If you have questions as I go along, feel free to jot them in the chat, but I'll take them once I'm done just introducing. Um, so, as I said, my book, No More Job Secrets, talks about international employment, mainly international employment in the field of development. I talk a lot about international careers and working in NGOs, working in the UN. So, if that's an area of interest for you, then this is a suitable book for you. So, who am I? If you've just started following me on LinkedIn, I'm a global development professional, an author, and now a LinkedIn influencer, thanks to you. My educational background is not a very linear, traditional, what you would expect. I'm a dentist, and I shifted my career into international development after realizing that's not what I wanted to do. It took a long time to make that shift, so I'm not trying to make it sound as if it's something easy that you can shift careers, because it's absolutely not. But it's also something that's very doable if you're passionate and if that's something that you want to do. I'm currently based in Dakar. I can see someone say hi watching from Dakar, so hi to you as well. Bonjour and happy Eid to everyone celebrating in Dakar and all around the world in the Muslim community. What I do professionally is I'm passionate about poverty reduction and youth employment. I have a master's degree in public health, and I have advanced certificates in project management and African studies. So, this is my career in a picture. It's a bunch of logos. It looks very fancy, but what I want to focus on as well is I know you see a lot of logos, but I also want you to look at the empty space between those logos. The empty space symbolizes or signifies areas of nothing, literally areas of nothing, areas of periods of time where I was unemployed, where I wasn't doing anything, where I was just really connecting the dots or trying to find something to do for myself. So every time you look at somebody's career profile and you see a lot of fancy logos or you see a lot of places that you wish you could work in or a lot of Ivy League schools or fancy degrees, remember to train your eyes to look at the empty spaces because these are the things that are beneath the iceberg that nobody really discusses, that nobody talks about. And it's really what equalizes us as humans because all of us have our struggles, but nobody really talks about those. And through posting also my periods of failures and my periods of unemployment on LinkedIn, I also garnered a large youth following because people realized that we're really more common than different. On the left side of the screen is my education, which is, as I said, I'm a dentist. I studied in a public school in Egypt, and then at the bottom of the screen is Swansea University, where I did my master's. On the right is my international employment with CRS right now, and with UNDP previously. And in the middle is when I was unemployed. So during the period of time where I was unemployed, I started building my LinkedIn youth following. I volunteered for many youth platforms like Multipod Mentoring, where I met Sue, my mentor, and I started writing my book where you can see this logo at the bottom. So it was really quite a journey, a lot of different places, but here I am right now. And again, really, if I can do it, you can do it too. You can work wherever you want and you can really study wherever you want. You just need to have the correct mindset and the correct resources. This is my book, No More Job Secrets. If you've been following me on LinkedIn for the past month, I managed to publish it last month. The book in a nutshell is about it's not a typical career guide saying how to write a CV or how to write a cover letter, but it talks about these elements from a different perspective. From the perspective of what are the things that nobody discusses about these topics? Like you can Google a lot of information about, let's say, applying for a job or how to perform in an interview. But there are things that nobody discusses the nitty gritty details, the secrets, the tips, what to do, how to network, how to find somebody's email, how to tailor your cover letter, how to apply for a job at the UN, how to learn anything for free online, how to make money while you're looking for a job. So I realized while looking for a job and while being unemployed that there are elements that nobody discusses. And these are the elements that I realized there was a gap in the market. And a lot of youth want to know this information and they have no place to obtain this information in a consolidated and simplified manner. And this is why I wrote the book. Um, so if you're watching this book and you're thinking, is this book right for me? Will I be able to benefit? For example, I'm already very happily employed. Why shall I read a book about employment? Or I'm unemployed. Will this be too far advanced for me that I won't benefit at all? Or let's say you are a student or a fresh graduate and you feel like nobody ever taught you anything about looking for a job. So you're a bit afraid to start reading the book. And that's why I created a map called the I Am map in the book. It's at the beginning of the book and it looks quite nice when you see it. It's over here. So if you look at the map, for example, it's divided into 12 sections almost, I think. So for example, if you look at the 2 o'clock over here looking for a UN job, I had to look at my watch. I'm not the best mathematician. So if you look at the 2 o'clock here, so it says looking for a UN job. You can go to chapter 6, 7, and 11, which talk about different elements for looking for a UN job. If you are, let's say, at 3 o'clock, a student or a fresh graduate, then I would advise you to read all chapters. and so on and so forth. The point of this map is that you don't have to read the whole book. I know lots of people will be busy. Some people will be only interested in certain topics, not necessarily everything. So the point of the map is to guide the reader into reading the correct chapters. Of course, I would advise you to read the whole book to benefit, especially if you are a career coach or a mentor or somebody that's looking to really pass this knowledge on to somebody else. I would advise you to read the whole book. But if you are somebody that just wants tailored information to a certain element of your career that you're stuck with, then I would advise you to only read these chapters so that you can maximize on how much you benefit from the book. Do you want to say something, Sue?
No, I just thought it would be useful before you talk about the book to acknowledge that we cover from Bangkok to Somalia and Jamaica, Chad. We've got people in Bristol, Washington, D.C., I think Ghana. Mame just signed in from Ghana. Abilash Lash, who I forget where he is, all over. And for those of you who may be seeing on the StreamYard version that your face is not coming up when we put your comments up, there's a setting for that, and we'll try to post about it later so you do become visible like those. I'll show you. Our next comment is from Avilash, and you can see his LinkedIn profile fully here. So remember, use all the real estate you can, including what you're doing, commenting in chat. Go ahead, Rawan, and talk about the book. I put in the link a couple times. I'll put it in again into the LinkedIn comments while you're talking.
All
Abhilash
right.
is in India. Welcome.
Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in all around the world. Although it's a holiday as well for many people, so I really appreciate it. I would just like somebody maybe to confirm that they can in fact read the slides because I've seen a comment that somebody can't see the slides. So maybe Alina, if you can see the slides, just type in the comments or anybody else just to make sure that we're on the right page since it's the first time for Sue and I to use StreamYard, but hopefully it won't be the last and we'll have more of these sessions. So, back to the book. The book is available now on Amazon. It has been available for the last 2 weeks. We're doing great, thanks to all of you. Um, I'll show you the statistics at the end of the slides for the most number of copies that were ordered per country, but until now, the US is in the lead. But yeah, so far it's been quite a global audience, and hopefully by time as the book gains more and more traction and more success, I hope to translate it into Arabic and into French, and so that it could reach an even larger global youth audience that are looking for jobs. Thank you, Hannah, for for confirming that you can see the slides. The book, as you can see on the screen, is available as a Kindle, as an ebook, if you don't want to order it, and it's also available as a hard copy. Um, the interior is quite easy to read. There was a lot of effort done on the typesetting. Perhaps it took me the longest amount of time to get the typesetting right. So it looks quite nice as a hard copy. So if you have the option to ship it, I would encourage you to do that. The book is on Amazon. You can Google it or search for it or go on Amazon.com in your country and find the book. This is a free QR code that I created thanks to brilliant technology that you can just snap with your phone if you have a QR code reader and go to Amazon to get the book. So for Q&A, that was just a brief intro. For Q&A, I have prepared a few slides of questions that I'm asked all the time. But also, since this is a live stream and this is a live audience, I would be more than happy to take your questions as they come along. So perhaps I can start with a few questions that people have asked me on LinkedIn, or people have asked me through messaging or through comments on my feed. And then if you have any questions, you feel free to ask right now and I'll answer. The priority goes to the audience that's live. Um, so yeah. Oh, thank you, Mohammed, for being here. I know Mohammed's been following you for a long time. It's a pleasure having you here. So I'll just start with a few questions, and then as the questions come along, I'll take them. So feel free to start typing your questions in the chat. So the first question is, what inspired you to write a book? I know people ask this question because I have a full-time job. I travel a lot, and people just sometimes assume that um, why is she writing a book or she already has a job? What's in it for her? And the thing is, for those of you who are the artists in the world, you know the joke, artists also need to eat. Writing a book or creating art in general mostly is not a very profitable thing to do. So it's obviously not for um, financial purposes or not to make money. That's not the purpose of writing the book. But the purpose was really to give that knowledge, to pass it on. I feel like by passing that knowledge on, and perhaps when people message me to say, I've gotten a job, or I saw a link you posted, or I have applied for a job, that for me is so fulfilling. And it's not just about my own ego, but it's really about having people experience that feeling and that fulfillment and that financial stability of having a job, having experienced both sides of the spectrum myself. And I truly believe that there's nobody that's more equipped or more competent or more passionate about doing something that somebody that went through a rough patch or somebody that experienced something negative and then they take that anger and they take that energy and they transform that into something positive. And we see it all the time, not just with books, but we see, for example, cancer survivors advocating for treatments, and we see people advocating for free education, or we see people right now on social media, this is perhaps a taboo topic, but advocating for things like abortions because they have gone through it themselves. So you often feel and you see that people that are very passionate and very vocal about topics are those that have gone through it themselves. And I really wanted to transform that passion I had into something tangible, something that's crystallized and something that people could hold rather than knowledge that was in my head. So that was the first question. What inspired you to write the book? Hi, Angeline. Hi from New York. It's pretty early for you, so good job for waking up so early. Um, I'll go on to the next question until the questions start coming in the chat. So I also get this question a lot. How can I become a freelancer? I get this question all the time. The thing is, I was only a freelancer for a few months. The first time I was unemployed, I was literally unemployed. I was looking for a job as a full-time job. I was making $0, zero income per month, and I was unemployed for quite a large chunk of time, around 9 months. Although I was doing other things, I was not making money. So the second time when I was unemployed again, when my contract finished with UNDP, I was like, wait, I'm not going to spend out of savings and not make any money when there's a lot of opportunities to make money online. And there are many opportunities. There are websites like Fiverr, you may have heard of, which is Fiverr. There's Upwork. There's many websites. There's a whole chapter in the book about freelancing. But the thing is, my point about making the slides so compressed and so tiny is that you really don't need to complicate the process at all. If you have a skill, you can become a freelancer. If you're watching me right now on a computer or on an electronic device and you have internet, then you have all you need. Do not complicate the process if you're looking to become a freelancer. That's the takeaway message. It's really as simple as creating a portfolio for yourself, getting that credibility, getting your first client is the hardest part, but then it snowballs into something that's bigger and bigger and bigger. For me, I was freelancing through writing blogs. I wasn't making all the money in the world. I was making maybe $200 on a good month every month, which I know maybe for people in developing countries that would um, convert into a larger chunk of money. But if you're living in the developed world, that's nothing. But still, this is not to discourage you from um, pursuing freelancing, trying to make money while you get a full time job, just so that you can stay afloat and not take the first job that you find, even if it's not suitable. It will give you some leverage to apply, it will give you some leverage to have that financial stability and to really fight for what you're worth, because you won't feel like you need to run into the first job that you get. You will wait for something that's right for you so you don't become a job hopper. After you get a job, you don't like it, you job hop again and you leave that job just because you rushed or you chose something that wasn't suitable for you because you needed the money. So the freelancing or creating money, whichever way you choose, will give you that financial independence and that career autonomy to make your decision when you need to. I'm not seeing any questions come in, so I'll
Hang
just
on,
pause.
Rawan. I had one message to me. I thought maybe it'd be interesting to have you answer on the fly. How do I handle a gap on my short CV or resume, both in those documents as well as LinkedIn and in an interview? What do I say about that? That's Sue adding that last little comment.
All right. So thank you so much to the question for the person that asked that. There is a chapter on the book called Secret Solutions. And within these solutions, there is a section that talks about unemployment gaps. Again, I've been through this myself, and there is sort of like a stigma, or there was maybe before COVID, about having unemployment gaps. And the short way to answer this question would be to disclose them. If you try to hide an unemployment gap, it will still show. The employer will still find out. They are going to ask you about it. And then maybe you will have to, if you start the relationship or the interview or the cover letter by hiding it, and then the employer discloses it, you will lose all credibility. So, my advice simply would be first, disclose it. You will be asked about this. So, a better approach would be to disclose it and prepare for it. So, how can you prepare for this question, or how can you prepare for disclosing a gap in a CV or cover letter? Think about how you want to frame your unemployment gap. There are some hacks. So, for example, if you were unemployed for 14 months. You were unemployed during the pandemic, you got laid off, you couldn't find a job. Instead of saying I was unemployed for 14 months, you can do some psychological, like not necessarily alteration of the data, but just some psychological tweaking. You can say I was unemployed for almost a year. It's 2 months instead of saying 14 months, which sounds like a large chunk of time. If you just say I was unemployed for almost a year, you're still playing fair, you're still being authentic, you're still disclosing it, but to the person reading it, they're like, yeah, that sounds fair, that sounds okay. So first you just alter it. If you can reduce that number a bit, or find a way to make it more, it's like psychological pricing. You're more likely to buy something that's $9.99 than $10. It's the same. Just try to make it, if you can handle that first for the person that's reviewing your CV or cover letter, then great. That's a small tip. The second thing is you can find a way to focus on the positive things you did during that unemployment gap. A good employer will be a good human being. It's the basics of life. A good employer will tell you, you were unemployed, what were you doing? You could say, I was taking care of my mother-in-law and my spouse was handling the house bills. During that time, she fell ill and I was doing that. A good employer will say, this person is reliable, this person is empathetic, this person is responsible, this person puts their family first, this
And
person is
this
loyal.
person's probably using it's the experience and skills from what they did before in that same work, financial skills, balancing things, maybe using Excel spreadsheets, being able to talk about the way in which they did time management and had to maneuver appointments with doctors and also did career advancement. Sorry to break in, but that's such a great opportunity for people to reframe it as you're talking about. And Fernando, a mentor to both of us, said that's excellent advice, Rawan. So now I'll let you continue, but I had to add that in.
Exactly. And if you're being asked about an unemployment gap in an interview, you don't have to dwell on it. You can just say, I was unemployed from January to June. And during this period, I was taking courses on accountancy. I was taking courses on Power BI. I was taking these courses because I want to segue into a career as a tax advisor. And then you can segue into something more positive about the new role. You don't have to dwell on your unemployment period. This was a chunk of your employment career, of your career. It wasn't your whole career. So you can just talk about it in a way that's to the point, in a way that's productive, and in a way that's positive. But the key is to be prepared rather than to be mysterious and to try to hide it, because an employer will ask you about that. A point about LinkedIn recently, a few months ago, I don't remember when exactly, LinkedIn now allows users, people like me and you who have profiles, to disclose employment gaps. So you can add your employment gap as a literal employment gap. So you could say, took a sabbatical or took care of my aging mother. You can disclose as much or as little as you want, but then your career just flows chronologically for the reader. It doesn't have to be like from January to March and then March to June, there's nothing, and you start again in July. You can literally say career gap here. Um, Fernando says you can say that you were learning something related to your career, which is also excellent advice. So yeah,
All right.
um,
Oh,
yeah, that's just yeah. The last thing I was gonna say is regarding other like whether you we're gonna talk about employment gaps or anything else. Do not talk negatively about yourself ever. If you start talking negatively about yourself, I know a lot of people say don't talk negatively about someone else, which many of us thankfully have the common sense not to do. So don't talk negatively, just like you would not talk negatively about a previous employer or somebody in your family or one of your friends in an interview, because that would be considered unprofessional. Never talk negatively about yourself. So don't say, I was doing nothing. I was unemployed. I was crying at home. No one would hire me. If you have that attitude, without realizing it, somebody may be a bit like deterred to work with you. They will look at your attitude as maybe negative, sulking, not proactive, and you don't want to spread that message. So just like companies search for people with technical competencies, people are also more and more likely to search for people that have a good attitude, that have strong behavioral competencies, people that are honest, people that are integral, and people that value themselves. So, like, if you are in an interview and you're being asked that question, be prepared. If you feel like you have that habit to dwell on the negative aspects of yourself, be prepared to speak positively about yourself as well. You can train yourself to do it if it doesn't come naturally.
that's great. And we have another submitted question via a DM. I'm going to read it to you. It's a little bit long. So the question is, how do I transition from an analyst role to managerial business functional role? And so here's the background. I'm doing a project management course from Google on Coursera, also the digital marketing specialization. I believe both of those will give me some sort of credibility when I apply for jobs internally in my organization. So, making somewhat of a career pivot, I would say, or at least trying to be recognized for a larger set of skills. We don't know the background. I know this person well enough to know he's a go getter. So the good news is, as everybody that I've seen commenting today, you're all right there using your opportunities. So, what would you say about trying to get recognized in his own organization for things that he's educating himself in and now wants to be seen by his organization as ready to move up?
Okay, so thank you, Sue, and thank you to the person that has asked this question. So shifting careers is really it's a world. No two career shifts are ever the same. In the case of the person that's asking this question, to me, I would say this is quite a mild career shift. This person wants to go from an analyst role to more of a managerial role. So to me, I would say he's looking to get promoted or he's looking for a leadership role. He's not necessarily looking to gain completely new skills that are out of his already existing expertise or his existing skill set. In the book, there's a chapter called Secrets to Career Shifting, and it was inspired, the chapter was actually inspired by um, a post on Quora. If anybody uses Quora for questions and answers, or some people just ask questions and other people answer them about anything in life. And there was somebody that was asking once about career shifting, and somebody compared a career shift to degrees of a circle. So I don't have anything right now. This is just the lid of my coffee cup, which I have right in front of me. So a career shift, if you think of it as a circle, or if you think of it as 360 degrees, if you are at 0 right now, which I am, and you go to 180, that means you're making a complete career shift. But if you, let's say, if you go back to 360, if you're making a full career shift, it means you're going back to where you started. So we don't want that. But using the analogy of a circle, this person, let's say, is here at 0 and they want to go here. They want to go, let's say, to 45 degrees. They want to advance in their career. They want to make a very minor shift within their existing skill set. So I would advise this person to this person wants to become a manager in their company and no longer an analyst. I would advise this person to use any job searching platform of their choice or to go on LinkedIn and to type. Let's say they want to become a manager, a head of programs in a certain area. Or in this person's case, I'm not sure exactly what's the type of the title that they're looking for, but they can think of that exact title they're looking for. Perhaps it already exists in the organization since this person is looking to get promoted. So I would start by searching that title exactly the way it is. I would start searching for that title on any job site and looking at the skills that this the job advertisement lists. I would look at these skills one by one, and then I would assess the qualifications I have and the skills that are required versus what I have versus what is needed by this job or by this employer. I would compare these two things and then see, do I have a 60% match? Do I have a 70% match? Do I have a 100% match? When would I advise this person to apply for a job in their organization to get promoted? I would say around 70 to 75%. If you have less than that, then you are not exactly.
Oh, we lost your volume. Hang on, Rawan. We lost your volume. Okay, Rawan's doing some troubleshooting. So thank you, Fernando, for adding in become a good writer. I think what Rawan was leading towards is for her to, for this person to get ready by looking at job qualifications in job postings. And that's a really great secret. Look at what you want to be promoted for. And then the other part that I would add is to be able to start talking to your boss and others around you in that new role, the role that you want to be in. So do the job you want. Are you already doing some aspects of it for your boss? They also need to recognize you in a different role, because right now, the role you're in, you're the problem solved. They don't have an empty role, they've got you there. When you want to get promoted, you need to be seen as adding value at a higher level. So figure out what those roles that you want to compete for in getting your promotion look like, and where you can contribute and add value. For example, if you wanted to start working more at managing business development and bringing in new funding, like Fernando says, writing proposals, you need to perhaps ask for time to work with the business development unit if you're not up really closely aligned with them, or ask if there are additional things that you can attend that they do to learn about those. Rawan, do we have you back yet?
Oh, yes,
Yes,
sorry. I
great.
don't know
No,
what
it's no
happened.
problem.
Yeah.
Fernando and I have been able to fill in with a little more of specifics. Thank you,
Yeah.
Fernando.
So yeah, I was just going I'm like going back to that person, I would say aim for having 60 to 70%. Another thing you can do is go on a website for word clouds. If you've seen a word cloud before, it's literally a cloud filled with words. So you can copy paste some of the competencies you found for the 5 to 10 jobs of the career you're aiming for. You can copy paste those in a word cloud generator, and then you could see which words are coming up in the middle. So, for example, if a word that's coming up as resource mobilization, that's coming up bright and clear in the middle, and every single one of these jobs that you're aiming for requires you to be competent at resource mobilization, and you don't have that skill, then it's a problem. So maybe it's just a fun way to analyze the data and to analyze job descriptions to see the level of skill you have versus the level of skill you need. If you have more than 70%, 80%, 90%, I would argue that you're overqualified and there would be very little room for you to grow. This, of course, depends on you as a person. Some people like staying within their comfort zone, but other people will get bored very quickly and they will want to leave the job if they feel like they're not learning anything new. So I would just aim for that roughly Make a table on your computer, see how many skills you have from your dream job versus what you need, and work backwards, work retrospectively to acquire the skills you need so that you can get promoted into that managerial role. And please come back and let us know how that went.
I love the idea about word clouds. I forgot about it, but I just put in the site that I use, which is free. I'm all about free. But also, just the other day, Jess, who's on the call today, Jess Antipolo, told me, Sue, you actually can put in a phrase, not just a word, by going to their list and typing the phrase in. And it's the only one I've seen that lets you actually, or does do the effort at keeping a phrase together. So for those of us in global health or public health or program management, there's another secret that I learned from working with all of you. And we got a comment saying your answer to the question gave great insights from Abhilash. So great.
Oh,
All right,
thank you,
back to
Abba.
you, Rawan.
Yes, so another free website. I can't see what you've put in the chat, Sue, but one is wordclouds.com.
I did. I put
WORD.
that exactly the same one. Yep.
Yeah, that's the one that's free.
Yep.
So, okay, add the link here as well. Okay, I'll try. I'll just put for Fernando's comment, become a good writer. This is really important for any career. You'll have to write reports, proposals, documents, answer emails, etc. There's also another question that I've gotten once before from somebody that was, I thought it was very generic first, and I almost didn't reply to the message. The message was, I'm looking to advance in my career. What shall I learn? No context, no insight, nothing whatsoever. And at the beginning, I thought it was too broad of a question to answer. And then I was like, wait, this girl is right. There are some skills that you need for every job, no matter what you do. And I agree. The first one I would say is writing. There's an there's a small mnemonic device or a phrase that I used in the book to talk about skills that everybody should know. And the phrase is, what new stuff in your free time? So every letter of the first word stands for a skill. So the what, so the phrase is, what new stuff in your free time again. So the what is writing. And I agree with Fernando. Everybody writes, everybody should learn how to write. I'm not saying you should quit your job and become a writer and try to make money, but you should learn how to write in a way that's attractive and brief and concrete and captivating to the audience so that people can read your applications. They could read your CV. They could read something that's compelling to invite you for an interview. So I would say the number one skill you should learn, regardless of what you want to do or what you want to be, is writing. The second one, which is the N or new, is negotiation. You will need to negotiate regardless of what it is that you want to do, whether you want to work in development or not. You might have to negotiate a salary, you might have to negotiate leave days, you might have to negotiate a better contract, whatever it is, you should learn how to negotiate. This comes naturally for some people, for other people, you can learn how to negotiate. I was watching a YouTube ad in the morning about a book which I don't have. I know I'm supposed to be promoting my own book, but this is another book that was, it's titled Never Split the Difference, and I believe it talks about negotiations. So this is a powerful skill that you should invest in learning because within any given days, it's estimated that you will have to negotiate 3 to 7 things. So learn how to negotiate if you are looking for a job. The third thing is speaking. I'm speaking right now. You probably speak in your job or you speak during your, um, if you're volunteering or if you're applying for jobs, you need to learn how to express yourself in a way that's eloquent and in a way that's also captivating to the audience. Again, I'm not telling you go and become a Toastmasters person or go become a TEDx speaker, but really practice how to speak. Put yourself out there. Do not wait until you're hired for a job and the first day of the job, your manager tells you present and then you're not able to speak clearly. Practice, put yourself out there. You could even do it on TikTok. If you have 1,000 followers, you can go live and speak to people. You can do it on Clubhouse. There's so much technology and so many resources that are available these days that allow people to practice their speaking. So the three the three skills so far are writing, negotiation, and speaking. Thank you, Avilash, for taking some notes for me. I really appreciate it. The fourth one, I would say, if you are unemployed or looking for a job, is following up. I know that doesn't sound like a skill at all, but it is really the what separates a lot of people in organizations, people that are all technically competent and people that are all skilled, is following up. Some people know how to follow up and follow through and get results and chase people and get answers and get things done, and other people have the technical capacity but they don't know how to chase that information. So if you are unemployed or looking for a job, learn how to follow up. Learn how to write a follow up email, how to call somebody after 10 days and say, hey, I never got feedback on that interview. Practice following up because it's a skill that is indispensable regardless of what it is that you do. And the fifth thing, technology. We all can't get away from technology, especially with COVID coming up. There will be new applications, new things you have to learn in your sector or outside of it. Things that are generic, like Zoom and Teams and Skype and other things. But regardless of what it is that you do, get tech savvy reg- within your scope and maybe outside of it, because the more you are tech savvy, the more you will facilitate work for yourself and for those around you. So, since Abilash is helping me take notes or helping the audience with the transcription, the five skills that everybody should know are writing, negotiation, speaking, following up, and technological savviness. What new stuff in your free time? These are the five new things that you should do in your free time.
I love that, and I have to figure out when I get off why comments I'm making aren't showing up either in on the LinkedIn feed, or on, I know they're showing up somewhere because, Abhilash asked me the word clouds thing, he put it in because I wasn't able to follow, to get it to post. Thank you, Abhilash, for also giving us this summary, sorry, showing this of let's see if I remember. What new stuff
In
I
your
miss
free time.
in your free time? I love
Yeah.
that because last night I was flipping through a few things that were just at nighttime when my brain is dead, and I thought, Rawan used to write for 2 hours every night after she got off a full day of work and was doing French language and other things over the last 2 plus years of her writing. So I need to remember what new stuff in your free time, writing, negotiating, speaking, following up. Great,
And
thank
being
you.
tech
Oh,
savvy.
and
Yes.
technology, right, thank
Yes.
you. All right, and Fernando has a big comment for us. Remember, there are no soft skills. Yes, in fact, I say not even hard. All skills are valuable. You just have to put not only mastering them, show how you've mastered them and where you've used them. Don't just say that you've done them. I totally agree, Fernando. Everybody regards them as second class skills until they have to go to answer a question about how are you going to convince me you're a great communicator. So, yes, please do not ever say soft skills. In fact, don't just talk about skills, and remember, skills become experience. Even when you're learning them, you're getting experience. So, learn how to value that. Rawan, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Sue. Are there any other questions that you've received, or do you
I
want me to
have one
proceed?
more, yes. And the person who asked the question about getting basically a promoting and getting a job for which he's preparing said it was perfect and it really helped him. All right, this question is, what should I change? And in parentheses, I'm thinking, what should I do differently if I'm not getting any responses to my job applications?
All right. That's also a very brilliant question. It sounds simple, but it's brilliant because a lot of people fall into that trap. Not just with job applications, but with a lot of different things. Like it's, that quote, old habits die hard. So I noticed that about myself mainly while applying for job applications. And I write this in the book. It's don't throw just throw spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. So I see a lot of people doing that. They're just throwing spaghetti on the wall, throwing in applications in a big bucket without tailoring their applications, without doing anything special, and just applying with the same CV and cover letter without changing anything and just waiting to be called back. This is one category of applicants which I was a part of. I was a part of that pool, and I greatly discourage you from doing that. Even during different times where I was on the other end reviewing applications, you can look at an application for 1 second and realize if this was tailored or not. It's that easy. I believe the average CV or the average cover letter is scanned or skimmed. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sue. Was it 7 seconds? I think it was almost
Yeah.
7 seconds.
7
So
to
imagine,
10 if you're lucky.
yeah,
Yeah.
7 to 10 if you're lucky. So if I'm looking at something, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, done. I can tell, is this tailored? Does this person address the letter to the correct person? Does this person care about this job? Does this person did this person even read the job description? Because some people have just been like, they apply using the easy apply features on LinkedIn or on Indeed without even reading the job application. So I would discourage you greatly from doing that. People then come back and say, do job pools work? Do these websites even work? Yes, they do. If they didn't work, there would not be so many of them. The reason why many recruiters use these websites to advertise jobs is because it's a cheaper way of advertising. It's an easy way of reaching a large pool. But that being said, with advertising being so easy, remember that the supply of jobs is much less than the demand. So you're always competing with a large pool of applicants. The first tip I would say to this person is please tailor your CV and cover letter. A very easy way to do this is try as much as possible to dedicate or write the to part, like to the name of the person you're in the organization for the job that you're applying for. I could see, for example, Mohammed Sharif just put a comment. Let's say, um, I know Mohammed. I know Mohammed works in the UN. I know where he works. I know his title. I've seen it on LinkedIn. He works in supply chain, and let's say I want to be a supply chain specialist working with Mohammed in Chad. So if I write to the supply chain specialist, if I don't know his name, that's still fair enough. But if I do know his name and I write to Mr. Mohammed Sharif working at the supply chain branch of this organization, and then I tailor it, I try to look for insights on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. I try to find out what they're doing differently. I try to find out what's so special. Why do I really want to work there? And then I use these insights to craft and tailor my application. I've already significantly increased my odds of getting that job. Things are not so black and white. Sometimes jobs will be advertised and an internal candidate will get it. I know, I'm not oblivious to that. But there are a lot, don't look at these eccentric um these eccentric happenings that happen in recruitments. Apply with the mindset that it is a job that's being advertised because the recruiter has a need to fill that position, and these are the majority of positions. Don't obsess over the fact that some jobs are advertised and they're ghost positions, they don't really exist. Do not dwell on these happenings. Yes, there are terrible things in the world and there are terrible people, but you're all if you're always going to think like this, you're you're less likely to advance. Your mindset determines how far you will go. So try as much as possible. There is a fellowship that I've gotten with the African Union. It's a mentoring fellowship. And I totally believe in my heart the only reason why I got that fellowship is because I directed my application to the name of the ambassador at the AU. I looked her up. I had seen her, I had heard her speaking in a webinar, and I wrote to the ambassador and I wrote her name. While I was submitting the application, I was like, my odds are pretty high because how many candidates dug that deep and tried to find out more about the ambassador, to find out about her name, why she was running a fellowship, what's in it for her. So really, just by doing that, by tailoring your application and your cover letter, you already have significantly improved your odds. That is not to say that that is enough, because if you do that, you're still you have increased your odds, but you're likely to be doing what everybody else is already doing. So if you want to get to that extra mile, you have to go the extra mile. See what other people are not doing and think of what you can do to make yourself stand out even more. And this will be different for different people depending on what it is that you want to do. If you, for example, build websites, you can Start creating a portfolio, link that to your cover letter and CV. If you want to work in a startup and you realize that they're struggling with a problem, or you heard them on the radio or on a podcast say, oh, we have so and so problem with our marketing, or our sales are not so high, and you think of a solution. Instead of coming to these people with a problem, which is hiring you, you come up with a solution. They're going to be chasing you. You have completely switched the table that way. So start thinking of outside the box. There are many people who come up with ideas that I hear and I'm totally amazed. So some people create the job that they want in the organization of their dreams. If you don't want to wait and apply for a job, why don't you create one? So a lot of people will go to managers, not a lot of people, the minority of people, and they apply for jobs that don't exist. So they say, I want to be let's say a happiness manager at this hospital. I want to take care of patients at a hospice. I have these competencies and I believe you have this gap. Yes, you will have zero competition, but also you're applying for a job that does not exist. So you really have to make a case for yourself. There are opportunities out there, but it's really up to you for what you want to make out of it. You can obsess and dwell that your applications are going nowhere, or you can go the extra mile. Whether you want to apply traditionally online and tailor your applications, your cover letter, your CV, network heavily, be visible on LinkedIn, carry your business card everywhere you go, try to connect with people, comment on their posts, give value, learn, ask smart questions, be present, and you will not be forgettable. That's just, and with technology, that's fortunately easier because you do see a lot of people on LinkedIn, but not so many people interact. So, really, if you see somebody that you want to work with, somebody that you feel you can add value to, don't be afraid to comment, to get in touch, to ask a question. Um,
All right. So I'm going to, I put up the compliment from Fernando, and I have his first question. Now, this is a good mentor. You just put out your book, and he's already trying to get you to look at your future and what you can continue to contribute to the world. So I don't know if you've had thoughts about this, but he wants to know, when is your next book going to come out? And will it be an autobiography or something else? He definitely wants you to write about balancing professional and personal perspectives from a woman's viewpoint. I'm rephrasing a little bit what Fernando wrote.
Thank you, Fernando. When will the next book come out? I don't know. I don't know. I'm still in the aftershocks of this one. So not anytime soon, not anytime soon. I would say writing this was almost 4 years of research and 2 years of writing. It's not as easy as it looks. So to do something, I like doing things 100%, and to do things 100% often it takes time and effort and resources. I was able to write maybe a lot also during the phases of my unemployment, especially last time. So I was able to dedicate a lot of time to writing, which during this busy period of my life, I'm not able to do so much of that. So I really don't know about writing something else, or also a business book or an autobiography. I find that writers almost always stick to the niche that they start with. So if you start writing business books, you almost always continue with that. People don't shift from fiction to nonfiction to autobiographies. That's not so common, at least. Maybe for self-publishing, you do have that leeway to try different things. But if you want to gain that credibility and that accountability from the people, they expect consistency. And part of consistency is continuing in the same genre at least, maybe blogging or going on podcasts or going on Clubhouse to discuss more personal elements, or as I do on LinkedIn. By writing another book about my personal life, I might be wrong, but I don't think it's something that people would expect. So maybe consistency, like writing also about business, but in a way that's more anecdotal and more personal, and merging the two.
Or maybe it's updating the next version of your book in a couple years with whatever new opportunities and technology and the way business has settled in more firmly. We've seen it after 2 years of COVID. We know it's going to continue to change, the hybrid world and all of that, with the things you will be learning in your continued jobs. So I want to just remind us that it's almost time to close. Here's my summary for today before I ask Rawan for a couple more ending comments. We've already seen from Rawan, heard from Rawan, there are no more job secrets. And if you're not convinced, she's told you that. We went through 3 or 4 different chapters that she mentioned. I tried to put them in the chat for you so that you could see the names of the chapters. She's welcoming you to connect on LinkedIn. And I know, Abhilash, you sent a connection request. Rawan's really busy right now. We accelerated the timeline for getting this live up because we knew there was a lot of interest. And that leads me to my final point, which is we are going to be doing a couple more lives by the end of July. Stay tuned for the actual dates and times. We're going to vary them so different audiences in different parts of the world may be better able to attend. We appreciate those of you from Bangkok all the way to the west coast of the US who are on. The best thing you can do is connect with Rawan and me. Many of you are already connected to Rawan. I think most of you probably are. And if you haven't heard from Rawan, go ahead and try to DM her or contact me and let me know, and I'll make sure that she gets the help she needs, because she's doing a lot just with her daily work life and her personal needs. Thanks to everybody who came along. Rowan, I'd love you to give a few closing remarks before I officially end the SueMentors very first LinkedIn Live.
All right. So I'll skip the last few questions. And then, yeah, so thank you all for being here. It's been a pleasure. If you're not already following me on LinkedIn, please do. I share a lot of tips, a lot of resources, mainly entry-level jobs, fellowships, and internships for youth. So if this is who you are, if this is what you want to do, um, please do follow me on LinkedIn. This is the URL of my profile. And also, finally, my closing remark is there are no more job secrets. Feel free to head over to Amazon. You can take a picture of the QR code and go to Amazon if you want to purchase the book. If you do have questions, you can send them to me or send them to Sue. Over the next few weeks, I will try to do a few more lives to answer your questions. This was our first one, so thank you all for tuning in, and thank you all for the great questions. There are a few questions that I didn't have time to get through to. Um, Next time I could start with those and build on them if there are any further questions. And really, my closing remark for the day would be if I can do it, you can do it too. Nothing special or brilliant or out of the box about me. I am just like you, a girl, a boring girl, I would say. Nothing spectacular, nothing eccentric. I just work hard, I'm focused, and I'm extremely disciplined. So if you want to do anything, whatever it is that you want to do, even just go on Google. Feel free to go online, search for what it is that you want to learn or what it is that you want to do. Do not let others stand in your way, but please, please, please do not stand in your own way. Do not be the person that tells yourself no. Do not apply for opportunities because you think you will get rejected. Um, do not self reject. If you feel like an opportunity is 70% right for you, especially for the women who self reject and say no to themselves and not apply for opportunities, stop doing that. It will kill your career. It will really kill your career. If you have it in your mind that you're not going to get a job because you're of a certain nationality or a certain race or a certain country or because you don't have those existing skills, if you don't fight for yourself, no one will. No one will. The last two jobs that I had, I promise you, and I'm saying that on screen with full disclosure, there was no connections, nobody involved. It was just an online application written with a lot of heart and a lot of effort. There are applications that I spend more than a month on. I will research, I will prepare for an interview before I'm invited for it. So have that discipline and no one will be able to tell you no. They will come chasing after you. You won't even be waiting for their yes. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you for hosting this event. And thank you, Odo. It was lovely being with all of you today. We are ending sharp on time, which is in a few seconds. Feel free to connect on LinkedIn and send us feedback about this webinar, how we can do better next time. And we will announce the date for the next webinar, which will be maybe in a few weeks' time, in 2 weeks, around 2 weeks, to answer the rest of your questions. Hopefully
Perfect.
by then, yeah, many people will have gotten the book, so the conversation will be more contextualized. And
Great. All right. Well, I would like to thank everybody for coming along on this first event with us. SueMentors, my company page and what I mentor under, will be doing more of these. And obviously, the first few are going to be with Rawan because she has so much to share. And you have a lot of questions. Dixon, someone who's a LinkedIn user, let me see. Oh, Rania and Hannah all said that this was very helpful and informative. Rania said she had many questions in her mind that you've answered. So more to come. Thank you for sticking with us at the beginning as Sue was experimenting. We appreciate all the feedback and we'll see you next time.
thank you, Sue. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Have a nice Monday.